a formal submission to the United Nations, correcting the classification of reparations. The Freedmen Reparations Fund (FRFT) has taken a decisive step onto the international stage. On March 30th, 2026, FRFT formally submitted an institutional memorandum to the United Nations calling for a correction in how reparations related to the transatlantic slave trade are classified, defined, and addressed. This was not a public statement. This was not a symbolic gesture. This was a formal submission designed to enter the international record. Why this submission matters. For decades, discussions surrounding reparations have been broadly framed under global or diaspora-based narratives. While these conversations carry weight, they often fail to distinguish between fundamentally different categories of harm. FRFT's submission makes one point clear: justice requires precision. The harms experienced by freedmen, including those recognized as descendants of American chattel slavery, arose from a specific system: chattel slavery implemented within the United States, followed by Reconstruction failures, Jim Crow laws, redlining, discriminatory federal programs. These are not generalized global harms. They are jurisdiction-specific injuries tied directly to U.S. governmental action. The core issue: misclassification. At the center of this submission is a critical concern. Reparations are being discussed without properly identifying who the claimants are. When classifications are too broad, claims become diluted, accountability becomes unclear, policy outcomes become ineffective. FRFT's memorandum addresses this directly by asserting that freedmen represent a distinct status-based claimant class whose claims must be recognized independently within any reparative framework. What was submitted? The memorandum includes a formal institutional position on reparations classification, a structured legal and historical argument, a clear distinction between U.S.-based harms and global or colonial claims, proposed amendment language for the United Nations to adopt. This amendment language is designed to ensure that freedmen are properly identified in international discourse, claims are not misrepresented by external parties, reparative frameworks remain accurate and enforceable. A necessary clarification. FRFT's position is not one of opposition to global discussions on reparations. It is a call for clarity and proper classification. Claims arising from colonialism, international exploitation, global systems of harm must be analyzed separately from the specific documented harms inflicted upon freedmen within the United States. Blending these categories does not strengthen the movement for justice, it weakens it. Institutional action, not symbolism. This submission represents a shift in approach. Rather than engaging solely in public discourse, FRFT is entering formal international channels, establishing recorded positions, providing structured amendment language, positioning itself as an institutional authority on classification and claimant standing. This is how long-term change is built, not through slogans, but through documented, enforceable frameworks. What comes next? With the memorandum now executed and submitted, it will be reviewed by relevant United Nations bodies. It becomes part of the international record. It establishes a formal position that can be referenced in future discussions, policy considerations, and institutional engagements. FRFT remains open to dialogue, but that dialogue must be grounded in accuracy. Had a final word. The question is no longer whether reparations should be discussed. The question is, will they be discussed correctly? FRFT has made its position clear. Freedmen, including those recognized as descendants of American chattel slavery, must be accurately identified, properly classified, and directly represented in any framework addressing reparative justice connected to the transatlantic slave trade. Anything less is a misrepresentation of history and a barrier to justice. Clarification of terminology. For broader public understanding and alignment across discussions, freedmen may also be referenced in public discourse as descendants of American slaves. However, FRFT maintains a status-based classification framework grounded in the specific historical system of American chattel slavery and its documented aftermath.